Because our program is focused on stabilization, that's one of our primary goals, we are doing a lot of work with the students on emotional regulation skills from the very beginning. We do DBT work, we use the Safe and Sound protocol, and we're also using relational approaches to make sure that our students are practicing their emotional regulation skills in relationship with others in the program and with parents and family therapy. The idea behind this is that there's still going to be a lot of work to do when students leave here. And at the very least, they will have had some preliminary practice in really applicable situations with their families so that they can continue their work and we have some good groundwork laid. One of the things that we do that is kind of unique with that Safe and Sound protocol is we're using a specific system of having students listen to music and sounds at a prescribed amount of time and different times during the day to help them practice listening to tones that will actually cause them to be dysregulated on a smaller scale than some of the other things they've experienced, so that they can have that feeling of being dysregulated just a little bit, maybe even for 2 or 3 minutes max, and then pause and then practice their skills immediately afterwards. And then we'll do it again another day and another day. What's cool about that is it's not just teaching the students the skill and then waiting for something to come up for them to use it. It's actually giving them a prescribed time, and it becomes familiar actually. Like, this is a thing that I know I don't really like. I kind of feel uncomfortable listening to this, but I know that I can do it for a brief period of time and then I can practice my skill and then I feel better. What's cool about it is that it really does make a difference in students' regulation abilities over time. So we see students having a much easier time using their skills when they're learning the skills or being reminded of them and using it in combination with the Safe and Sound protocol. Something that, regardless of anyone's history or diagnosis, that I think is really important is that we are really clear with expectations, but we're also kind. If a kid has a trauma history and they're likely to experience a trigger in a new relationship with somebody they don't know, or somebody who's a particular gender or looks a certain way, we're gonna try to be really aware of those things and get to know the students so that we know how to adjust and adapt. We're also, as far as communication goes, front loading in the beginning, reminding in the middle, and then reflecting after the fact it's built into all of our systems. So we want students to know when they first get here, these are the rules, this is the expectation. You have choice even in that, but we want you to know this is what we are expecting of you. So then later when we talk to you about how you didn't meet an expectation or you did something that was unsafe, you know already that we were going to talk to you about it because we set the expectation in the beginning. There's also, I think, this added layer for the students once we get to know them more, where we can personalize and customize the interactions we have to what their needs are. So maybe we're noticing that they tend to receive information or feedback better from one of our staff. We might rely on that staff to then be the person who goes and has those individual conversations with them about things that need to shift or better ways that we can support them. There's this approach that we're using with kids who are on the spectrum to make sure that we're breaking down information into smaller chunks so that they can process it differently. And that might be something as simple as we're noticing that a kiddo is struggling to take care of personal hygiene. That is often something we experience here because the kids who end up coming into our program are having difficulty functioning in daily life, which is why they need this level of care. And we can't just say hey, you need to go take a shower. If we're telling somebody who they need to go do this thing and it's still not happening, we need to examine why. And so for kids on the spectrum, they really do sometimes need that more broken down approach of all the individual steps, because for them, it might be really overwhelming to just think of this thing that is gonna cause me discomfort and it's a demand or expectation from somebody else, and I don't feel like I feel safe enough to meet that expectation, right? If we want a kid to be successful, we need to tailor not only our expectations to what they're able to do and then help them grow by exceeding those expectations repeatedly, but we need to make sure that they're really clear on what it is that we're asking of them, because sometimes they need more information than what we think they do. Medications are a huge part of what we're doing because sometimes kids will come in and the medications they're on are not working. They still are having some behaviors that are making it so they're needing an out-of-home placement in order to be safe. So we are actually focused on that really quickly from the beginning. We like to know what has been tried before, so our nursing team collects that information from the parents or other previous providers to better understand, we've tried this medication, it didn't work, or these side effects were present, or this is the reason why it was stopped, so that we can be well informed in any recommendations that we're making going forward. Every week then, we are in treatment team meeting and the nurses are a part of that discussion where we're talking about what's working, what symptoms are we seeing, what medication changes have happened, are we seeing any side effects, are we seeing any positive intentional effects of this medication, and we're documenting it on a regular basis so that we make sure we're tracking whether it's working or not. There are some really major differences between a long-term residential stay and stabilization and assessment because we do move faster with medication changes here than maybe in a longer-term stay. I think a part of that is we do have kids who come into our program with more severe behaviors and a lot of shame built up as a part of that. So if there is something that we can take action on relatively quickly, we want to, so that we stop the shame cycle from happening and we can also get some traction building skills.